Dr. Zethara pressed her four-fingered hand against the smooth control panel of the research vessel Gentle Current. The blue lights under her touch flickered as she tried to fix the communication array for the third time that day. Her large dark eyes reflected the star charts floating above the main display. The Kalari scientist had been working for 6 hours straight, and her pale green skin showed signs of exhaustion. The signal calibration is still wrong, she muttered to herself in the musical language of her people. The Gentle Current was 3 months into a deep space mission, mapping star systems in the outer rim of the Veil Nebula. It was supposed to be routine work, but nothing had gone right since they left home. Captain Yilmoth walked onto the bridge, his long robes rustling against the metal floor. Like all Kalari, he was tall and thin, with smooth features that showed no aggression. His people had evolved on peaceful worlds where cooperation meant survival. War was something they read about in historical texts, not something they lived. "Any progress with the communications?" he asked, settling into his command chair. The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Outside the large windows, stars dotted the black space like scattered diamonds. "I think I have it working now," Zethara replied. She touched another control and the array hummed to life. "Let me run a test signal to make sure everything is connected properly." The communication system had been acting strange for days. They could receive messages from other ships and space stations, but their outgoing signals kept failing. For a research vessel working alone in deep space, communication was their lifeline to safety. Zethara selected what she thought was the internal test function. The display showed a simple diagnostic routine that would check all the system connections. She pressed the activation button and watched as lights blinked across the control panel. "Test signal initiated," she announced. This should only take a few minutes, but something went wrong. Instead of running a simple internal check, the system activated the emergency distress beacon. The powerful transmitter designed to call for help across vast distances suddenly broadcasted their position, ship details, and research data to every receiver within 17 star systems. The distress signal carried information about their mission, their cargo of scientific equipment, and most importantly, their recent discovery of a mineral-rich world perfect for colonization. The message went out in standard galactic code, identifying them as a small research vessel with minimal defenses. "Captain," called out Navigator Semelin from her station, "I'm reading massive signal output from our communications array. This is much stronger than any test signal should be." Yilmoth stood up quickly, his calm expression changing to worry. "Zethara, what exactly did you activate?" The scientist checked her controls again, her movements becoming rapid and nervous. "I selected the diagnostic routine, but the system is showing emergency broadcast mode. I don't understand how this happened." "Emergency broadcast?" The captain's voice rose slightly. "You mean we just sent a distress call?" "It appears so," Zethara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And it's already propagated beyond our ability to recall it. The signal has reached at least 12 star systems." The bridge fell silent except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. Everyone understood what this meant. A distress call from their ship would attract attention, but not necessarily the kind they wanted. Pirates, raiders, and military forces all monitored emergency frequencies. Some helped ships in trouble, but others saw distress calls as opportunities. "How long before we can expect responses?" Yilmoth asked. "Depending on who received the signal and where they are located. We could see ships arriving within 2 to 4 days, Semelin answered after checking her navigation charts. Captain Yilmoth made a decision. "Send a follow-up message on all frequencies. Explain that the distress call was transmitted by mistake, and that we do not require assistance. Make it clear that we are conducting routine research and have no valuable cargo." But it was too late for damage control. The original signal had been powerful and clear. Any ship that received it would know their exact location, their research mission, and the fact that they had discovered something valuable. Even worse, the emergency beacon identified them as a Kalari vessel with minimal weapons and shields. 3 days passed quietly. The crew continued their research work, but everyone remained nervous. They kept scanning space around them, looking for approaching ships. The Gentle Current had only basic sensors, designed for scientific observation rather than military detection. On the morning of the 4th day, their sensors detected the first hyperspace signatures. 12 massive objects were approaching their position at incredible speed. The energy readings were unlike anything in their databases. Captain, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace, Simelin announced, her voice tight with concern. 12 vessels, all much larger than us. Yilmoth hurried to the main display. The ships appearing on their screens were huge angular vessels covered in what looked like weapon systems. They were dark gray and black, with scarred hulls that spoke of many battles. These were not Kalari rescue ships. Are they responding to our communications? The captain asked. They're scanning us, reported Chief Engineer Welitar from his station. Very thorough scans. They're reading our hull composition, power output, and internal structure. Zethara felt her stomach drop as she looked at the alien ships. Their databases contained information about many species in the galaxy. But these vessels didn't match any known designs. The ships looked predatory, built for war rather than exploration or trade. Try to establish communication, Yilmoth ordered. Send standard greeting protocols. The response came quickly, but it wasn't what they expected. A voice spoke in heavily accented Galactic Standard, with words that sounded harsh and direct. Kalari vessel, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Iron Wolf. We received your distress signal. What is your status? The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion. UES meant nothing to them, and the species name wasn't in their databases. But the tone of the voice was professional, almost military. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Yilmoth of the research ship Gentle Current. Our distress signal was transmitted by accident. We do not require assistance, but we thank you for responding. There was a pause before the alien captain replied. Understood, Captain. However, our sensors are detecting multiple fleets approaching this position. It appears your signal attracted more than just our attention. We're reading hostile signatures inbound. You may be in danger. Yilmoth felt ice form in his chest. The accidental distress call had done more than attract these mysterious aliens. It had painted a target on their ship for anyone looking for easy prey. Captain Morrison, Yilmoth said carefully. Who are you? What species are you from? Another pause. Then the alien voice replied with words that would change everything. We're human, Captain, and it looks like you're going to need our help whether you want it or not. The word human sent shockwaves through the bridge of the Gentle Current. Dr. Zethara dropped the datapad she was holding and it clattered onto the metal floor. Navigator Simelin made a small choking sound. Even Captain Yilmoth, usually calm in any situation, took a step backward from the communication console. Did he say human? Zethara whispered. Chief Engineer Welitar was already pulling up their species database, his fingers moving rapidly across his control panel. The search results appeared on the main screen and everyone stared at the information in horror. Species classification, human. Status, Class 12 forbidden species. Origin, Sol 3 designated as extreme deathworld. Warning, no direct contact authorized. Theoretical species only. Existence unconfirmed. Captain Yilmoth read the database entry aloud, his voice shaking slightly. Environmental pressures include gravity 2.3 times galactic standard, atmospheric composition toxic to most species, extreme weather patterns, and apex predator evolution path. It says here that no species from a Class 12 world has ever achieved spaceflight, Simelin added. The environmental conditions that create apex predators supposedly prevent the cooperation needed for advanced technology. Dr. Zethara pulled up additional files from the Galactic Archives. According to this, humans are considered mythological by most species. There are stories about deathworld predators who could survive in any environment, but no one believed they were real. The communication system crackled again. Kalari vessel, this is Admiral Lisa Santos aboard the UES Defiant Storm. I'm taking command of this situation. Please prepare to receive our language specialist for direct communication. More ships were arriving. The sensors showed additional human vessels dropping out of hyperspace around them. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons and defensive systems that made the Gentle Current look like a toy. Admiral Santos, Captain Yilmoth managed to say, we appreciate your offer of assistance, but we must inform you that according to our databases, your species is classified as extremely dangerous. Perhaps it would be better if we handled this situation ourselves. There was a long pause before the human admiral replied. When she spoke, her voice carried a mix of amusement and understanding. Captain, I can imagine what your databases say about us, but right now you have 3 hostile fleets heading your way, and we're the only thing standing between you and whatever they plan to do with your ship. I suggest we work together. On the Defiant Storm, Admiral Santos stood in her command center surrounded by holographic displays showing the tactical situation. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and intelligent brown eyes. Her uniform was dark blue with silver markings that indicated her rank and years of service. "Commander Blake, report," she ordered. Commander Ryan Blake looked up from his communication station. He was younger than the Admiral, with sandy hair and the kind of focused expression that came from years of studying alien languages and cultures. "I've established basic communication with the Kalari ship," Blake reported. "Their language is relatively simple to translate, and our AI has already built a working vocabulary. But Admiral, they're terrified of us. Their databases classify humans as mythological monsters." "Mythological monsters?" Santos raised an eyebrow. "That's a new one." "It gets more interesting," Blake continued. "According to their files, no species from what they call a deathworld has ever achieved spaceflight. They think we're impossible." Santos looked at the tactical display showing the Kalari research vessel. It was small, lightly armed and completely helpless against the forces approaching their position. "What about those incoming fleets?" Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez spoke up from the weapons control station. She was a compact woman with dark hair pulled back in a military bun, and her fingers never stopped moving across her control interfaces. "Long-range sensors identify 3 separate groups," Rodriguez reported. "The closest fleet belongs to something called the Threx Dominion. Their ships are heavily armed but using old-style energy weapons. The second group appears to be pirates based on their ship configurations. The third fleet is larger and more organized, possibly military." Admiral Santos nodded. "Time to intercept?" "The Threx will arrive first in approximately 6 hours. The pirates are 12 hours out, and the military force will reach us in 18 hours. Santos made her decision. "Signal the fleet. We maintain defensive positions around the Kalari vessel. I want to know everything about these incoming forces before they arrive." Back on the Gentle Current, Dr. Zathara was frantically searching through research files. As the ship's xenobiologist, she had access to theoretical studies about deathworld species. What she found made her more frightened than ever. "Captain," she called out, "I found some research papers about theoretical deathworld evolution. According to these studies, any species that evolved on a high-gravity world with dangerous predators would develop enhanced physical capabilities, advanced problem-solving skills, and extreme aggression." "How extreme?" Yilmoth asked. "The papers suggest that such a species would be capable of surviving in environments that would kill most galactic races. They would be stronger, faster, and more adaptable than anything we've encountered." Simlin looked up from her navigation console. "But if they're so dangerous, why are they offering to help us?" Before anyone could answer, the communication system activated again. This time, the voice belonged to a different human. "Kalari vessel, this is Commander Blake aboard the Defiant Storm. I'm a specialist in interspecies communication. Would it be possible to speak directly with your xenobiologist? We need to share information about the forces approaching your position." Dr. Zathara looked at Captain Yilmoth, who nodded reluctantly. She activated her personal communicator. "This is Dr. Zathara. I am the xenobiologist aboard this vessel." "Dr. Zathara, I'm Commander Ryan Blake. I want you to know that we understand why you're afraid of us. Our species' databases probably say similar things about most of the races we've encountered. But right now we have a common problem." "What kind of problem?" "The ships heading your way aren't coming to rescue you," Blake explained. "The first fleet belongs to the Threx Dominion. They're known for claiming abandoned or disabled vessels and taking everything valuable. The second group are pirates who specialize in raiding research ships. The third fleet is from something called the Hegemony Enforcement Division." Zathara felt her blood run cold. "Hegemony Enforcement? They're galactic peacekeepers, but they have a reputation for being very aggressive with species they consider dangerous." "That's what we thought," Blake said. "Dr. Zathara, can you tell me exactly what information was included in your distress signal?" The Kalari scientist checked her records. "Our position, ship specifications, crew complement, and our research data about the mineral surveys we've been conducting." "What kind of minerals?" "Rare elements needed for advanced technology manufacturing. The kind that mining companies and military forces pay enormous amounts for." Blake was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was grim. "Doctor, your accidental distress call just painted a target on your ship. Every force heading your way sees you as either easy prey or a valuable prize. But what about your people? Zethara asked. What do humans want? Honestly? We were just responding to a distress call. It's what we do when we find someone in trouble. But now that we're here, we're not going to let 3 different groups of hostiles attack a peaceful research vessel. Captain Yilmoth stepped closer to the communication console. Commander Blake, our databases say your species is extremely dangerous. How do we know you won't simply take our ship after dealing with the others? Blake's response was immediate and honest. Captain, if we wanted your ship, we would have just taken it. You couldn't stop us, but that's not who we are. We don't attack peaceful vessels, and we don't steal from scientists doing legitimate research. Admiral Santos's voice came through the communicator. Kalari vessel, we're detecting the first hostile fleet dropping out of hyperspace. 12 ships moving in attack formation toward your position. I'm ordering my fleet to intercept. This is your last chance to move to a safe distance. Captain Yilmoth looked around his bridge at his frightened crew. They were scientists and explorers, not warriors. The approaching ships were full of beings who saw them as prey. Admiral Santos, he said finally. We accept your protection. What do you need us to do? Stay exactly where you are, Santos replied, and prepare to see what humans do when someone threatens the innocent. Captain Krelvas of the Threx Dominion ship, Bloodtaker, studied the sensor readings with growing excitement. His ship and 11 others had responded to the Kalari distress signal, expecting to find easy prey. The Threx were known throughout the galaxy as aggressive scavengers, who specialized in claiming abandoned vessels and their cargo. Combat Leader, his tactical officer, reported, We have the Kalari research vessel on sensors. Small crew, minimal weapons, valuable cargo as expected. Krelvas nodded, his scaled head reflecting the red lights of his ship's bridge. The Threx had evolved from predatory reptiles, and their ships reflected their nature. Dark angular vessels designed to intimidate and destroy. But there's something else. The tactical officer continued, his voice uncertain. We're reading 12 additional vessels in the area. Large ships, unknown configuration. Pirates? Krelvas asked. No, sir. These ships are too organized, too advanced, and the energy signatures don't match anything in our databases. Krelvas studied the tactical display. The unknown ships were arranged in a defensive pattern around the Kalari vessel. Their positioning was professional, military-grade formation tactics. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Prepare for combat. If someone else is trying to claim our prize, they'll learn why the Threx Dominion rules this sector. On the bridge of the UES Iron Wolf, Captain Jake Morrison watched the Threx fleet approach. He was a tall man with graying hair and the kind of steady presence that came from years of frontier patrol duty. His ship and crew had seen action against pirates and raiders, but never against an organized alien military force. Captain, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez called from her weapons station. The Threx ships are powering up their weapon systems. I'm reading plasma cannons, missile launchers, and some kind of energy beam weapons. Morrison nodded. Standard defensive formation. Keep our shields up, but don't lock weapons yet. Let's see if they're smart enough to back down. The communication system crackled to life. Krelvas spoke in the harsh guttural language of the Threx, which the ship's computer translated immediately. Unknown vessels. You are interfering with a legitimate salvage operation. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Morrison activated his communicator. Threx vessels, this is Captain Morrison of the human fleet. The Kalari ship is under our protection. I suggest you find somewhere else to conduct your salvage operations. There was a pause before Krelvas replied. Human, that is impossible. Humans are mythological creatures. Well, Morrison said with a slight smile, today's your lucky day. You get to meet a myth. Now turn around and leave before this gets ugly. On the Threx flagship, the tactical officer was studying the human ships more carefully. Combat Leader, these vessels are unlike anything we've encountered. Their hull composition appears to be some kind of advanced composite material. Their energy output is massive, and their weapon systems— What about their weapon systems? I can't identify them, sir. The technology is completely unknown. Krelvas felt a moment of uncertainty, but his pride and greed quickly overcame his caution. The Threx Dominion had never backed down from a fight, and they weren't about to start now. All ships, attack formation. Target the largest human vessel. Show these myths what real warriors can do. The Threx ships opened fire simultaneously. 12 plasma cannons sent brilliant beams of Energy toward the UES Defiant Storm, the weapons were powerful, enough to punch through the shields of any known galactic vessel. Admiral Santos watched the incoming fire on her tactical display. The plasma beams struck her ship's shields and scattered harmlessly into space like water hitting a stone wall. Interesting, she commented. Their weapons are about 50 years behind our current technology. Admiral, Commander Blake reported, the Kalari are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're begging both sides to stop fighting. Tell them to stay calm, Santos replied. This will be over quickly. Captain Morrison's voice came through the fleet communication system. All ships weapons free. Let's show our new friends how humans handle pirates. The response was immediate and devastating. 12 human ships opened fire with weapons the Threx had never seen before. Instead of energy beams or plasma cannons, the humans used kinetic projectiles fired at incredible velocities. Masses of metal accelerated to significant fractions of light speed struck the Threx vessels with the force of small asteroids. The first Threx ship to be hit simply disappeared in a flash of expanding plasma. The kinetic round had penetrated its shields as if they weren't there and vaporized the entire vessel in a single impact. Impossible, Krelva shouted. No weapon can penetrate our shields that easily. His tactical officer was frantically trying to understand what had happened. Combat leader, they're using some kind of physical projectile weapon. The mass and velocity are unlike anything in our databases. 2 more Threx ships were destroyed in the next few seconds. The human weapons fired rapidly and accurately, each shot finding its target despite the aliens' attempts to evade. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Krelvis ordered, return fire. But the Threx fleet was discovering that their enemies were not only better armed, but also faster and more maneuverable. The human ships moved through space with precision that seemed impossible for vessels of their size. Lieutenant Rodriguez coordinated the fleet's weapons fire from her station aboard the Iron Wolf. Captain, these ships are using predictable evasion patterns. Their technology appears to be several generations behind ours. Understood, Morrison replied. Continue engaging. Try to disable rather than destroy when possible. The battle was turning into a rout. The Threx weapons couldn't penetrate human shields, while human weapons cut through alien defenses like they weren't there. Within 10 minutes, 8 of the 12 Threx ships had been destroyed or disabled. Captain Krelvis watched, his fleet being systematically destroyed, and made a decision that went against everything his warrior culture stood for. All remaining ships retreat. Emergency hyperspace jump. The surviving Threx vessels fled the battle area, leaving their dead behind. They had learned the hard way that humans were not mythological creatures, but very real predators with technology that made their own weapons look like ancient tools. On the bridge of the gentle current, Dr. Zathara and her crew watched in stunned silence as the human fleet eliminated an entire Threx battle group without taking a single casualty. The engagement had lasted less than 18 minutes. How is this possible? Simolen whispered. The Threx Dominion has one of the most powerful fleets in this sector. Captain Yilmoth stared at the tactical display showing debris where the Threx ships had been. The humans aren't just advanced, he said quietly. They're using military technology that's generations ahead of anything we've seen. Dr. Zathara was reviewing the sensor readings from the battle. Their weapons appear to use kinetic energy rather than plasma or particle beams. And their ships move like they're much smaller than they actually are. Admiral Santos's voice came through their communication system. Kalari vessel, the immediate threat has been neutralized. However, we're still tracking 2 more hostile fleets approaching your position. I recommend you prepare for additional combat. Admiral, Captain Yilmoth replied, we've just witnessed something that our databases say is impossible. How are you so much more advanced than the other galactic species? There was a pause before Santos answered. Captain, we'll have time for explanations later. Right now, we need to prepare for the next group of visitors, and according to our intelligence, they're going to be much larger than the Threx. Commander Blake's voice joined the conversation. Dr. Zathara, can you tell us anything about the Vorthan Syndicate and the Hegemony Enforcement Division? Zathara checked her databases. The Vorthan are organized pirates with advanced ships and experienced crews. The Hegemony forces are military peacekeepers with authority to enforce galactic law. Both groups are much more dangerous than the Threx. Understood, Santos replied. Captain Morrison, prepare the fleet for extended combat operations. As the human ships moved into new defensive positions, The crew of the Gentle Current began to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented. The legendary Deathworlders were not only real but had technology and tactics that made them the most dangerous force in known space, and they were using that power to protect a small research vessel full of peaceful scientists. Dr. Zethara looked at her captain. What have we gotten ourselves into? Captain Yilmoth watched the human ships preparing for the next battle. I think we've just learned that the galaxy is about to change forever. News traveled fast through galactic communication networks. Within hours of the battle with the Threx Dominion, reports of the mysterious human fleet were reaching governments and military commands across known space. Admiral Santos quickly realized that humanity's secret was out. On the bridge of the UES Frontier Guardian, Captain Danny Walsh monitored communication channels between major galactic powers. He was a stocky man with keen eyes who specialized in intelligence gathering. What he heard made him increasingly worried. Admiral, he reported to Santos over the fleet communication system, we're intercepting massive amounts of chatter about our engagement with the Threx. The Altarian Republic has mobilized their entire home fleet. The Centauri Trade Federation has suspended all operations near what they think is human space. Admiral Santos absorbed this information while studying tactical reports from her intelligence officers. What about the Galactic Senate? Emergency session called for tomorrow, Walsh continued. The topic is listed as addressing the Deathworlder crisis. It appears that half the galaxy is terrified of us. Dr. Zethara had become an unlikely bridge between the two species. Working with Commander Blake, she helped establish better communication protocols and shared information about galactic politics. Her research background made her valuable for understanding the broader implications of what was happening. Commander Blake, she said during one of their communication sessions, you must understand that no one believed humans actually existed. Your species was a theoretical concept used to frighten children and warn against the dangers of Deathworld evolution. Blake leaned back in his chair aboard the Defiant Storm. Dr. Zethara, what exactly do your databases say about Deathworld species? They describe worlds with environmental pressures so extreme that only apex predators can evolve intelligence, she explained. High gravity, dangerous weather, toxic atmospheres, and ecosystems filled with lethal creatures. The theory was that such conditions would create species too aggressive to develop the cooperation needed for space travel. But here we are, Blake pointed out. Yes. And that's what has everyone terrified. If humans can achieve advanced technology despite evolving under impossible conditions, what does that say about your capabilities? Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Barnes was dealing with the military implications of their situation. As the fleet's Marine commander, he was responsible for preparing ground forces for potential combat. Barnes was a tough, experienced soldier who had served in conflicts across human space. Admiral, he reported during the daily briefing, intelligence indicates that 6 major galactic powers are forming some kind of alliance. They're calling it the Deathworlder Response Coalition. Their combined fleets outnumber our ships here by 50 to 1. Santos studied the holographic display showing the positions of various alien fleets. What's their estimated time of arrival? The advance forces could reach us within 36 hours. The main fleet would arrive in 3 days. Recommendations? Barnes considered their options. We could retreat to human space, but that would reveal our location to potential enemies. We could make a stand here, but we're heavily outnumbered. Or we could try diplomatic contact. Dr. Zethara interrupted their planning session with urgent news. Admiral Santos, I need to share something important about our research data. What is it, Doctor? The information that was accidentally broadcast in our distress signal included survey data for over 40 uninhabited worlds suitable for colonization. Many of these planets have valuable mineral deposits and ideal conditions for various species. Santos felt a cold realization wash over her. You're saying that anyone who received your signal now knows about dozens of colonizable worlds. Exactly. And if the major galactic powers obtain this information, they'll also know where humans might expand next. This data could be used to predict and intercept human colonization efforts. Commander Blake saw the strategic implications immediately. Admiral, we can't let that information fall into hostile hands. It would give our enemies a roadmap to future human settlements. The situation became more complex when Captain Walsh intercepted additional intelligence. Admiral, I'm picking up communications from the approaching alien fleets. They're not just coming to deal with us. They want the Kalari research data. Explain, Santos ordered. The survey information that Dr. Zethara mentioned? It's apparently worth more than we realized. These worlds aren't just colonizable. They're strategic locations that could shift the balance of power between major galactic civilizations. Dr. Zethara confirmed this assessment. Many of the worlds we surveyed are located near important trade routes or border regions between different galactic powers. Control of these planets could provide significant military and economic advantages, Admiral. Santos faced a decision that would affect not just her fleet but potentially the future of human expansion into space. She called a meeting of her senior officers to discuss their options. Gentlemen, Dr. Zethara, she began. We have a situation that's bigger than a simple rescue mission. The data aboard the Kalari ship could determine the future balance of power in this galaxy. Captain Morrison spoke first. Admiral, our orders were to investigate and assist if possible. But those orders didn't anticipate a situation like this. What are you thinking, Jake? Santos asked. I'm thinking we need to consider the bigger picture. If we let hostile forces capture this information, they'll not only know where to intercept human expansion but also where to set up ambushes for our colonization ships. Lieutenant Colonel Barnes agreed. From a military standpoint, protecting this data is essential for human security. But that means we're committed to defending it against overwhelming odds. Commander Blake raised another concern. Admiral, there's also the question of our relationship with the Kalari. Dr. Zethara and her people could be valuable allies if we handle this correctly. Santos turned to the Kalari scientist. Dr. Zethara, what would your people want in this situation? The alien researcher considered carefully before answering. My people value knowledge and peaceful exploration above all else. The data we collected was meant to help all species find new homes and resources, but we never intended for it to become a military target. Would the Kalari be willing to work with humans if we protect them from these hostile forces? I believe so, Zethara replied. My government has always sought peaceful contact with other species. If humans prove to be protectors rather than conquerors, it would change everything our people believe about Deathworld species. Captain Walsh interrupted with an urgent report. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting the first wave of the alien coalition fleet. 18 ships belonging to the Vorthan Syndicate approaching at maximum speed. Time to intercept? 4 hours, Admiral. Santos made her decision. All ships prepare for extended combat operations. We're not retreating and we're not letting that data fall into hostile hands. Admiral, Dr. Zethara said quietly, you're risking everything to protect a small research vessel and some survey data. Why? Santos looked at the alien scientist with steady eyes. Doctor, in human culture we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Your people are peaceful researchers who accidentally called for help. These other forces are raiders, pirates, and military units who want to exploit you. The choice is easy. Commander Blake smiled slightly. Besides, Dr. Zethara, you're about to see what happens when humans are properly motivated. These alien fleets think they're hunting easy prey. They're about to learn that they've picked a fight with the wrong species. As the human fleet prepared for battle, Dr. Zethara realized she was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that was supposed to be too dangerous to exist was risking everything to protect strangers who had been taught to fear them. Perhaps the galaxy's understanding of Deathworld species needed to be completely reconsidered. The combined alien fleet that emerged from hyperspace was the largest military formation Dr. Zethara had ever seen. 847 vessels representing 12 major galactic powers spread across space in a formation that blocked out the stars. At the center of this armada flew the flagship of Fleet Admiral Tex Nara of the Alterian Republic, a massive dreadnought called Galactic Justice. Admiral Santos stood on the bridge of the Defiant Storm, studying the tactical display with calm professional interest. 12 human ships faced down a force that outnumbered them by more than 70 to 1. Her officers waited for orders, their faces showing determination rather than fear. Admiral, Commander Blake reported, we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship. Put it through. Fleet Admiral Texanara spoke in the formal musical language of the Alterian Republic. Her words were translated immediately by the ship's computer systems. Human vessels, this is Fleet Admiral Tex Nara, commanding the Galactic Defense Coalition. You are in violation of multiple galactic statutes regarding Deathworld species interaction protocols. Surrender immediately and prepare to be transported to appropriate containment facilities. Admiral Santos activated her communicator. Fleet Admiral Texanara, this is Admiral Lisa Santos of the Human Fleet. We are protecting a peaceful research vessel that requested our assistance. I suggest you reconsider your approach. Admiral Santos, Texanara replied, your species is classified as a galactic threat. The very fact that Deathworlders have achieved space travel violates fundamental assumptions about cosmic safety. You will surrender, or you will be destroyed. Santos looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These were men and women who had volunteered to serve in deep space far from Earth and home. They had families and dreams just like anyone else, but they also understood duty. Fleet Admiral, Santos said calmly, we're going to decline your generous offer. If you want to take this ship or harm the Kalari vessel, you'll have to go through us. The alien response was immediate. All ships attack formation. Eliminate the human threat. What followed became known throughout galactic history as the Deathworlder demonstration. The alien fleet attacked with overwhelming numbers and advanced weapons, expecting to crush the small human force through sheer firepower. They discovered instead that human military doctrine had been designed by a species that assumed their enemies would be equally dangerous. Captain Morrison coordinated the human defense from the UES Iron Wolf. His ship and the others moved through space with precision that seemed impossible for vessels of their size. Human ships didn't just evade incoming fire. They positioned themselves to maximize damage while minimizing their exposure to enemy weapons. All ships, execute pattern Delta, Morrison ordered. Let's show them what maneuver warfare looks like. The human vessels split into 3 groups, each moving in different directions at speeds that surprised the alien commanders. Instead of forming a defensive line, they created a dynamic, shifting formation that made it almost impossible for the aliens to coordinate their attacks. Lieutenant Rodriguez managed the weapons systems aboard the Iron Wolf with deadly efficiency. Captain, their shields are using standard galactic technology. Our kinetic rounds are penetrating with no difficulty. Understood. Continue engaging, but remember, we want to disable, not destroy when possible. The human strategy was as much psychological as military. Instead of simply destroying alien ships, they systematically disabled them, leaving crews alive but helpless. Kinetic rounds punched through shields and hulls with surgical precision, destroying weapons and engines while leaving life support systems intact. Captain Walsh led a boarding action that would become legendary among galactic military historians. His Marines used powered armor and advanced weapons to capture the alien flagship in under 6 minutes. The sight of human soldiers moving through alien corridors like unstoppable forces of nature sent shockwaves through the entire fleet. Fleet Admiral Texanara, Walsh announced over the ship's communication system, this is Captain Danny Walsh of the Human Marines. Your ship is now under our control. I suggest you order your fleet to stand down before more of your people get hurt. On the bridge of galactic justice, Fleet Admiral Texanara stared in disbelief at the human soldiers who had appeared seemingly from nowhere. They moved with confidence and efficiency that spoke of extensive combat experience. Their weapons and armor were clearly superior to anything her forces possessed. How is this possible? She asked. You're outnumbered by almost 100 to 1. Captain Walsh removed his helmet, revealing a weathered face with kind but determined eyes. Admiral, our species evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. We learned to fight smart, not just hard. The battle lasted only 37 minutes. When it ended, over 200 alien ships had been disabled, 36 had been destroyed, and the rest were requesting permission to surrender. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. Dr. Zathara watched the entire engagement from the bridge of the gentle current, recording everything for future study. What she witnessed challenged every assumption her people had about Deathworld species. They're not just winning, she said to Captain Yilmoth. They're doing it while trying to minimize casualties. These supposed monsters are showing more restraint than the galactic peacekeepers. Fleet Admiral Texanara found herself in the unexpected position of negotiating surrender with a species her databases classified as mythological. Captain Walsh and his Marines had treated her and her crew with professional courtesy, providing medical aid and ensuring their safety. Captain Walsh, she said, I need to understand something. My people were told that Deathworld species would be savage, uncontrollable predators, yet your forces have shown remarkable restraint. Walsh sat across from her in what had been her own conference room. Admiral, we are predators. Our world made us that way. But we're also intelligent. We learned that the best way to survive is to work together and protect those who can't protect themselves. But the theories about Deathworld evolution are wrong. Walsh interrupted gently. Yes, our world was dangerous. Yes, we evolved as hunters and fighters, but we also evolved as tribe builders and protectors. Aggression without cooperation doesn't create spacefaring civilizations, Admiral. Santos established communication with the surviving alien commanders to negotiate what would become known as the Terran Accords. Dr. Zethara served as mediator, her knowledge of galactic cultures proving invaluable. The fundamental question, Santos said during the negotiations, is whether the galaxy wants humans as enemies or allies. We never sought conflict with anyone. We simply responded to a distress call. Fleet Admiral Texanara, now speaking for the defeated coalition, found herself reconsidering everything her people believed. Admiral Santos, your forces have demonstrated capabilities that exceed our most advanced military units. If humans chose to expand aggressively, we wouldn't, Santos interrupted. Admiral, there are billions of worlds in this galaxy. We don't need to take anyone else's territory. We just want to explore, learn, and find places where our people can build new homes. Dr. Zethara presented the survey data that had started the entire crisis. The information in our research files shows 43 worlds suitable for various forms of colonization. None of these planets are currently inhabited or claimed by any galactic power. You're offering to share this data? Texanara asked. We're offering to work together, Santos replied. Humans have technology and capabilities that could benefit everyone. In return, we want to learn from your scientific knowledge and cultural achievements. The negotiations resulted in the Terran Accords, a treaty that recognized human space as sovereign territory while establishing frameworks for trade, diplomacy, and mutual defense. More importantly, it created humanity's unofficial role as galactic peacekeepers, a position they never sought but found themselves uniquely qualified to. Dr. Zethara's research became the foundation for the first comprehensive study of Deathworld psychology. Her work revealed that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or physical capabilities, but their capacity for cooperation in the face of impossible odds. The key insight, she wrote in her final report, is that extreme environmental pressure creates not just predators but cooperative predators. Humans learn to work together because their world demanded it. This combination of individual capability and group coordination makes them uniquely effective in crisis situations. Admiral Santos returned to Earth with news that would change humanity forever. They were no longer alone in the universe, but they had already established themselves as the species others turned to when facing impossible challenges. The accidental distress signal that started everything became a symbol throughout the galaxy, reminder that sometimes the universe provides exactly what it needs, even when no one realizes it at the time. Captain Morrison summed it up best in his final mission report. We went looking for someone in trouble and found an entire galaxy that needed to learn what humans are really like. Turns out we're not the monsters they thought we were. We're something much more dangerous. We're the people who show up when the monsters come calling.